Max on the beat.
Texas mother is asking for more accountability. This is after her son was attacked at a sleepover. This evening, she found out that 2 young students will be facing charges, but considering what they forced him to do, she says, and told our Aaron Jones, the possible punishment, not even enough.
For more than 7 months, they've been waiting for criminal charges. Summer Smith's son, 13 at the time, attending Haggard Middle School, shown in this now viral video being forced to drink urine at a sleepover last February. Smith says one of SeMarion Humphrey's classmates befriended him a month prior to get him to attend with the intention of bullying and assaulting him, and that night he was also shot with BBs while asleep, then called racial slurs. Plano police launched an investigation, and Smith says in a meeting today, she learned 2 of the students will each be facing an assault by contact charge, a Class C misdemeanor charged as juveniles.
To find out that it's like the equivalent of a ticket with just a little fine, that says to me what they think about my child.
They chose the absolute lowest level, which is the equivalent of a ticket. No jail time, no threat of jail time. It's a fine.
Smith.
Hey, Robbie, good morning. I did get to speak to SeMarion, and honestly, Robbie, speaking to him almost brought tears to my eyes. He is the strongest 14-year-old that I have ever met in my life. Like you mentioned, he was severely bullied last year when he was at school, but he is not letting that keep him down. Instead, he's actually giving back to his community today with the back-to-school drive, and he says that after the incident happened, thousands of people reached out to him, thanking him for sharing his story, and actually saying that he isn't alone.
I'm not glad about the situation, but I'm glad what we did with it. You know, we turned it to the best possible situation that I could ever think about. I feel like it made a bunch of kids realize that they don't have to be scared to talk to somebody. You know, especially not somebody that they trust. It just made me feel like I could do the things that I wanted to do without anything stopping me.
All of you to join us this evening. We are going to recognize a very special person that is in our midst. Persons, I should say plural. And so with that, I want to pass it on to our board chair and our co-founder, Jane Hope Hamilton. I really did want to just talk about the power of our children, and that is of SeMarion. You know, one of the things that Dominique and I with the Next Generation Action Network, a lot of people don't really understand or know everything about our dynamic. But oftentimes in the community, Dominique will be one of the first people in Dallas, in North Texas, to get a call when something happens, right? And in many cases, what he'll do is he'll pick up the phone, he'll call me, and we'll talk about policy. Why is that important? Because as we know, when there is an issue that occurs, and when we want change, when we want something to happen, in many cases, what does that look like? It either looks like going to court or getting a law changed, right? And that's how we work together, and that's how we collaborate as the Barbara Jordan Leadership Institute with the Next Generation Action Network. And that was exactly what happened in this case. And so I got the phone call from Dominique about SeMarion. And obviously being a mother, it just stopped me in my tracks. I didn't know what to do, so the first thing was that I was introduced to Summer, and then Summer and I talked. And if you want to share a little bit of that conversation with them, and then I'll go from there.
As I do remember talking later on when we started talking about the law and the lack thereof of some type of law that was in place for the schools for it to be mandatory for them. So it was almost as if well, technically they kind of skated around.
Yeah.
It's not that they did anything truly, so like now we have to put that law into place to make it mandatory for them to do this. So moving forward, there's some type of policy regarding bullying and stuff like that has to be there, and they have to follow that. So yeah, I do remember that part, but yeah.
And I know as a mother, I understand that. No, I mean, I understand it as a mother. Like, what your first thing was protecting your child, talking to as many people as you could to try to see what could happen. And I would say in this instance, a lot of what I heard was just, what can we do? Because in many cases, you were dealing with a school district that was saying, well, it's out of our control. There is nothing for us to do, right? Yep. And that was the problem. The problem was the place where SeMarion was. When we send our kids to school, we expect for them to be in a safe place. And we had a school district that was not responding to that. And so the question just came down to like, okay, what now? And we talked about that. We did not have an answer. We literally did not have an answer. It was literally like, who do you call? The police were like, well, we don't have anything to do with it. The school was like, well, we don't have anything to do. So what I know of the law and legislation is somebody had to have an answer. So I started doing research. And that's when we found David's Law. But the first thing that we learned about David's Law was what Summer just spoke to. It was not mandatory. It was a law written as a recommendation. So I picked up the phone and I called Senator Menendez. And Senator Menendez shared with us, and this is going to sound crazy, but it's true, that the reason why it wasn't a law was because he didn't have enough support for it. Now, David's Law was created because of a young man who passed due to bullying and cyberbullying, right? The pressure of it. And the reason why it wasn't a law and the reason why having cyberbullying and bullying policies on the books was not an actual law, because there were some people who felt as though it would be a pipeline to prison issue, meaning that kids would end up getting in trouble at school and then they'd have, issues with the police, and then it would begin to follow them. And what this showed, and with SeMarion speaking up and being so transparent about what happened, and and really speaking up for yourself, and allowing people to help, what that showed was it was the actual opposite effect. Why is that important? Because people that we vote for and that we put in office, sometimes they do have good intentions gone bad. What do I mean by that? They knew that we needed to do something. They knew we needed policy on the books for the schools to do something, right? But the intent of it was really voided by the fact that it didn't have any real, it wasn't real. It was just words on paper. It was a suggestion. If someone suggests to you, go put a new policy in place to protect the children, that means that you can do it or you cannot do it. So what happened in Texas is schools were not doing it. So as we continue to talk to different legislators, we were able to give this example of SeMarion and say, guess what, y'all? The opposite effect has happened. You all are concerned with this being a pipeline and prison issue, when in reality, Summer was forced to go to the police because the schools had no policies on the books. So, with that, what ended up happening is that, frankly, SeMarion's story and what you went through ended up actually changing an entire law for the state of Texas. That's what he did. Yeah. And it just goes to show us, and my middle name is Hope, but what our parents' names is, it means something, right? We're always hopeful. And a lot of times as adults, as legislators, as people who write the law, it doesn't mean that they always know best. This was a real example of how real life situations can inform the law. So, Senator Menendez, Barbara Jordan leadership, Summer, SeMarion, through all this work, we actually changed the law, and as you all know, it is now law because of SeMarion. Because of SeMarion. That every school district in the state of Texas has to have bullying and cyberbullying protocols in every school. They have to be written. The teachers have to know about them, the students have to know about them, and now there is a dedicated week to education around that in every single, and if it's not, if you don't have it in your school, if your child doesn't have it in your school, then that is for the parents and the students to speak out about it, right? Because there's two things about the law. First, you write the law, and then you implement the law. If people don't speak out, right, because it's not being implemented, this is a case where these protocols need to be in place, and students need to know that, and they need to understand that they're protected. So I did want to ask you all a few questions. You know, Semarion, I really want to know from you, like, understanding that you were able to have such a huge impact, right?
Good. Makes me feel proud. You know, I walk around with like a chest, like a very big accomplishment that I have in my life. Trying to have some more achievements.
Yeah. And what have you learned from that experience?
Just humbleness, I say.
Humbleness. What do you tell me?
Just going through it all, and like just feeling the power just makes me really understand. Like, just makes me really understand my place and like what I need to do. So like kind of support it.
And when you say it makes you understand your place, tell me more about that. What does that mean to you? What your place?
I say I'm just a place of like help.
Help.
Yeah. Help and hope.
Help and hope. I like that. And so, I mean, I was able to actually march with you. I had the honor of marching with you and being alongside you, at least on 3 different occasions. When you were marching and, you know, leading all those people, tell us about that experience. You know, did you feel, I mean, there are a lot of people who would feel very shy, right? There are a lot of people who things happen and they're not able to do what you did. Like, you know, they sort of sometimes kind of hide away from it. And I'm sure it's easy to do that. I'm sure you had some days where you were like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't ever want to talk about it again. You know, I know you had those moments, but like, what gave you the strength and the courage to lead all those people and actually speak up? Like, what happened?
Just because I'm not shy. And a lot of kids are like shy and so shy about tell people. That's just something like it was never do. A kid never be like disappointed of myself. I can never be scared of an action to do something. I'm not a shy person. So I think God just made it like way easier.
Yeah, because of your natural personality. And when you, do people at your school or new school or your friends, do they know that you've actually created a law?
Yeah, I tell them almost like, not almost every day.
What do you say? What do you say?
I'll be looking at it. Okay, so I'm looking at it. You know something? That's just a lot.
I love that. Yeah, because what could they say to that, right? Like,
No, I mean, yeah, you're right.
do they know? Do they know about it? Like, if they ask you, if they say, okay, well, what did you do? Okay, you changed the law. What does that mean? What do you say?
You know this place right here? It has to have security and social bullying and bullying just in general. It has to have protocols for that in the books.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you obviously were, you know, I think things like that do sometimes mature you faster. Do you think that it made you grow up a little quicker, or, you know?
No, I mean, I still have my childhood.
Good.
I've been going out with friends and stuff. I've been going outside.
That's good.
And football and stuff. But for that short period, I think my mentality had to grow up a bit.
Yeah.
Just like understand like all the things I had to consume, you know, like all the interviews.
Yeah.
And like going out and meet the news reporters. So I just think my mindset grew a little.
Right, I would imagine. Yeah. And could you tell that when that was happening, or is it like more like retrospect?
It was happening like most of March.
Yeah.
And last interview we had was in August, and then back to school thing.
That's good. And in terms of your mother, what would you like to tell your mother? Because I know she played a huge role, and she was out there, and I'm a mother, right? So we fight for our children, right? And I know that was really tough. And you all have, you know, a law now. But how did you feel about, you know, watching your mom have your back, and just what did that mean for you?
I think it just brought us closer. I really value our relationship now. Some of my best friends. She's my best friend.
Oh, wow.
Them in the bag, they're my twins. You see them? They may be mad at me right now, but them.
Why could they be mad at you? Well, that's wonderful. And Summer, you know, I really, first of all, I want to tell you, Semarion, like, look, I have a 3-year-old son, and I will be proud for him to be so brave and kind and smart and humble as you. And I mean, that's all I can hope for him, you know. You have a lot of people now who know you, and we're all blessed, and we're all better for it. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for, you know, what you do for what you've done for my children, right? They go to school too, so you actually help my kids. And hopefully one day they get to meet you, but thank you.
Thank you, Samarion.
Thank you, Samarion. Appreciate it.